Good evening, everyone. I'm Noelle Smith, Deputy Director of the Contemporary Art Museum, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the virtual exhibition tour for Out to Pasture, the exhibition featuring the master's thesis work by the third-year Master of Arts, Fine Arts candidates of the USF School of Art and Art History, composing the 2021 graduating class. On behalf of the Contemporary Art Museum, I salute the artists for their achievements and thank them for sharing their research with us. Tonight's hybrid tour, which brings the real to the virtual, has been conceived and designed by writer and critic S.K. West in collaboration with the artists themselves. West, herself an alumna of the USF Art History Master's Program, will lead the tour and be assisted by MFA candidate Leonidas Dezes. Mark Fredericks, communication specialist for the Institute for Research and Art, will be introducing our speakers and facilitating the evening's events. Thanks so much, SK, Leo, and Mark. Due to the pandemic, last year's exhibition was CAM's first foray into online programming, and our hybrid format tonight with SK in the museum represents a very welcome turn towards coming back to in-person programming in the future. The Contemporary Art Museum is proud to host this 13th annual exhibition by the MFA candidates from the School of Art and Art History. The entire CAM team dedicates itself tirelessly to working with the artists to help them achieve their best vision. From Margaret Miller, director, to faculty and staff, Amy Allison, Shannon Annis, Marty De La Cruz, Leslie Alsasser, Don Fuller, Mark Frederick, Sarah Howard, Eric Jones, Vincent Krall, Jillian Orotegi, Tony Palms, Dave Waterman, and Christian Viveros Farnay. Thank you all for your collaboration. Out to Pasture is supported in part by the USF School of Art and Art History, the Stanton Store Embrace the Arts Foundation, MFAO, and CAM Club. And now please welcome Mark Fredericks, who will introduce the program for the evening.
All right, thanks, Noelle. As stated, we do have an experimental program tonight. We're bringing an in-person guided tour of Out to Pasture to an audience connecting online. That's you. Tonight's tour is led by S.K. West, a writer based in Tampa, Florida. S.K. earned her MA in Art History from USF in 2019 and has published works of art criticism, journalism, and poetry, in addition to writing for the catalog associated with this exhibition. SK is joined by Leonidas Dezes, who will be handling the camera for the tour. Leonidas is a graduating MFA student whose thesis work we'll see on the exhibition tour tonight. If you have questions for SK, submit them in the Q&A box here on Zoom, and I can relay them to her. If you have questions for the MFAs, I encourage you to bring them to the panel discussion on April 22nd. So SK, please turn on your video and your sound, and let's get this tour started.
All right, thank you very much for that introduction, Mark and Noelle. Hi, everybody. I hope you all can hear me. That everything was fine in the testing, so I'm going to assume you can all hear me, which is great. My name is SK West. Welcome to the Contemporary Art Museum here on the beautiful USF campus here in Tampa. I would like to first dedicate this tour to the artists, all 13, as you can see listed behind me here. We're going to go through each of their thesis projects as we go through the museum. I want to dedicate this tour to them because they are obviously the reason that we're here. And I know that they have worked so hard, and this moment will hopefully be worth it for them. And of course, if you have any questions, hold them for the end. If you want to come and see the show in person, we are doing it by reservation, by appointment. Go to the museum website online to arrange that and to come out and see things in person, because there are a few different projects here that are just best felt and experienced in person. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and go on over to our first artist. Leo is going to follow me with the camera. Okay, cool. This is two human beings just trying to make it work. Okay, cool. So our first artist, coincidentally, is our camera operator, Leonidas Dezes. This is his thesis project, Total Insanity. Leonidas works in a digital arts. He was born in 1989 in Baltimore and received his BA in digital arts from Stetson University in 2011. His work, titled Total Insanity, right, deals with the absurd. He had a character and he had an episode called The Funeral for the Asbestos Albatross. He uses a green screen and all kinds of digital effects and digital props, voiceovers, different characters, random jam sessions in his show, Total Insanity. And it's incredibly entertaining and wacky and absurd. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth. It's part improv, part just stream of consciousness. And so his work kind of deals with the craziness and the randomness of life and all the different things that can come of that. And so this is a video work. There is usually audio with it. Of course, we have muted that for the purpose of this tour so that I'm not getting washed out in the audio here. I encourage you to come in and see this and just be with it for a few minutes because it is all over the place. You can also see his work online on his website or on YouTube, and I think Vimeo as well. It's delightful. You never know what you're gonna get. And again, it's just dealing with this absurdity of life, but also making it art. Yeah. Okay, cool. We're going to go on to the next one now. So we are walking through the gallery. There are two main rooms here in the gallery, or two main galleries within the museum here. And they are kind of triangular shaped, I think would be the appropriate term for them. I did not do well in geometry, so bear with me for geometric terms. Leo's working the camera operation system beautifully. Okay, cool. So now we have landed on our next artist. This is Erin Wilson's work behind me, and all along this wall, again, totally come in. You should come in and see it in person. That you can get a better effect of what it's like to be here looking at it. Erin Wilson was born in 1988 in Greenville, North Carolina. He received his BFA in 2011 from the Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina, and he's a painter. So as you can see, for example, in this work, lots of color and lines and shapes. Ian paints the places that you daydream, not necessarily daydreams themselves, but the places that you might daydream, right? So, and he uses partitions, for example, this railing that we see here, right? With the light coming through and the clouds and just the different way that he paints shadows with color and light with color. This is a place that you can just kind of lose yourself in. You can get lost in it. You can kind of voyage beyond what is actually presented here and just kind of let yourself daydream. So he paints the places that he daydreams, or paints the places that allow you to daydream, right? Like maybe you're bored at work, you happen to have a window in your office or in your workplace. You just kind of stare out the window for a bit, just kind of lose yourself in whatever you have going on. And that's what gets painted here. Again, using these beautiful colors and vivid line work to paint light and shadow and to kind of transform these paintings into those portals into a daydream, right? It's the same kind of feeling of when you're on a plane, which none of us have probably been on a plane in a while, unfortunately. Hopefully that'll be opening up soon again. When you have a window seat, and you just kind of stare out the window. Like, where do you go to? The place is what Ian here paints, right? Is that kind of portal into the daydream. And so this is one of his paintings. Another one of his paintings is much larger scale here. Again, kind of keeping with blocking in shapes and color and line, and light and shadow is light and painted with color. Yeah, just really gorgeous paintings here. Highly encourage you to come in and see them. So now we're going to kind of shift a little bit. We're going to look at another painter here, another artist. This wall here is the work of Lisa McCarthy. Lisa McCarthy was born in Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts. She received her BFA in 2018 from Tufts University. And so this is her, she has a selection of paintings here, as Ian does on that wall behind us that we just left. And Lisa, her paintings are often themes of satire, raunchiness, the kind of gender politics that are embedded into our society and into our culture. She paints these figures that are abstracted and colorful. And what's great too is that she uses different types of medium on her surface. So there's different sheens, there's different textures, subtle, but still there. And so some of them are large scale, like this one, which is called The Art Teacher. And so she just paints lots of different figures in varying positions and different scenarios. We can kind of walk along here and we'll be able to see more of them. This is a group of her paintings here. And then there's a couple of more down here. Lots of bright color, contour lines, clashing figures. It's wonderful stuff. Cool. So now we're going to come over here to Laura Perez Insua's work. Laura was born in 1994 in Santa Clara, Cuba. She received her BFA in 2018 from the Universidad de las Artes in Havana, Cuba. This is her video work here. Laura comes to America from Cuba, and so she has worked in different political ideologies, the kind of having that dialogue between Cuba and that culture and that history of communism and everything to America and the kind of American dreams and ideas. And so this work features this professor person. And again, this one also has audio, but we have it muted for the sake of the tour. So come in to actually experience the full dimension of this work. So he's lecturing to us and we see him with his office of books and he has stacks of books behind him. He's in his office. And at some point, there will be a plot twist. I'm not sure if it'll get to this clip while we're here for the tour, but there's a plot twist. So I'll just stand here a little bit longer to see if anything is revealed. A little bit longer. So that's a little hint about kind of questioning the validity of this professor who is lecturing at us about these lofty and fanciful ideas. And yeah, we're gonna move on to the next artist. Maybe you'll see the full thing here, or maybe it'll be when you come visit us in person. You can also check out the tour online. We have it fully scoped out in a kind of Google Maps situation. So you can watch the videos there as well. All right. So here we are at another video work. This one is by JD Hardy. Oh, don't want to get my shadow in there. And this one, JD's work really requires time and patience to look at. And I mean that in a really good way. Her work kind of lets it reveal itself to you, right? So for example, this might seem just like a regular kind of video projection. It might seem like a static projection of these different fabrics or quilts, or we're not really sure what we're looking at here. But in fact, it is 110 different videos. So each square is its own video zoomed in of fabric of hand-me-down quilts. And so as you can see, one just changed a little bit ago. Each square will kind of flicker or blink or shift a little bit. And so you just kind of have to give it time to reveal itself to you. And kind of dreamy. See, yep, we're all kind of moving around now. Yeah, so it's not an obvious change in the video. It is more again, it just kind of takes time and takes some attention to notice those things and to really appreciate them. Yeah, her installations often have these themes of taking time and just noticing those subtle differences that happen. Cool. And JD was born in 1985 in Pensacola, Florida. She received her BFA in 2010 from the University of Nebraska in Omaha. And as we leave her work, we are coming around a corner. There's the backside of Laura's projection. All right. We are working it. Okay, cool. So now we come to an installation from another MFA student, Nadia Ivanova. Nadia was born in 1977 in Sofia, Bulgaria, and she received her BFA in 2016 from USF Tampa here. So she is a returning alumna, which is wonderful. And this installation, yeah, Leo's kind of tilting the camera down a little bit because it is a wall and floor installation. Deals with a lot of texture. So here we have a red carpet, right, which is a literal and metaphorical kind of surface that we're all familiar with and that we all have different contexts with. And then we also have these castings of, these are Adidas sweatpants with holes ripped in them. And then over there we have an Adidas shirt, something, again, better seen in person to really appreciate the detail of the texture and of the process and the material here. And then we also have this rug type of material that is gray and matches these wall panels here that again have this really rich texture and carving detail in them. So Nadia was born in Bulgaria, right, under a communist regime, and she came to America with the hopes of living an American dream, as is one of our branding campaigns in the world, right? Come here and live the American dream. And so this work kind of deals with with her duality, I guess, of her experience of coming from a communist regime to America and kind of going from one political ideology to another, and all those different hopes and expectations, and then ultimate realities of that situation. And so these different textures and materials kind of give that visual contrast and that visual duality of that experience. Yeah. We're going to move on to the next artist. Again, this is the wall of Erin Wilson's work, just to give you guys a good kind of scope of the size of the show and the scope of the show. All right. And as we're coming here, we are about to enter, not yet, we are about to enter into Erin Wilson's installation here. Erin was born in 1983 in Fredericksburg, Pennsylvania. She received her BS in art education from 2005, or in 2005 from Temple University. And so her installation here is cut paper. And she works a lot in installation where she creates these installations from memory and also from research. She hand cut all of these shapes out. And then the lighting here, there's going to be different colors of lighting. And so it's really a really neat environment to break up going between the two big galleries. So I'm gonna take you guys in here with me, and I'm gonna help Leo navigate the camera. You're good, we're good, we're good. This is really fun to walk through in person. It's a little complicated here with technology, but I hope that this kind of gives a good representation of what it's like going through here. Really fun shapes. Erin, we're being gentle with it, I promise. Yeah. And then we come around this way. It's really neat to just spend time in here. It's a very interesting environment to be in. Yeah. So lots of different shapes, which can evoke the feelings of nature, right? We have different cutouts of what feel like branches or tendrils of a plant or something. And there's just a lot of different, it's a really great play of light and shadow. And again, just kind of immersing yourself in this environment of almost childlike wonder It feels just like you're totally transported into this fun world of paper, but because of how the different shapes are and then the different lights and everything, it really just immerses you in this wonderful colored environment. Yeah, you have to come in person to fully experience this. It's really delightful. Cool. So we're gonna finish going through here. We will emerge shortly. Yep, we're good. Yeah, we don't want to run into anything or step on anything. All right, we did it. Cool. So now we have emerged into the other gallery, which is the other big main gallery that we have here in the museum. This is a video artwork that is going to be connected to this installation right here on the other side that we're going to stop and talk at. So we swing around. Perfect. All right. All right, so then this artwork is from both the video that we glimpsed as we were coming through, and then this installation here behind me is from Mae Carro. Bonnie was born in 1994 in Hockessin, Delaware, and she received her BFA in 2017 from Millersville University of Pennsylvania. And so this installation behind me here should look like construction material. It is construction material. So I want to point out a couple of details here. So I don't know if you can see the floor. Again, this is something that would be much more appreciated in person to really see the detail, but these are all octagon and dot tiles, right? That's the type of pattern that it is. And Bonnie hand cut and put these together by hand, which just goes to show the level of talent and patience of that. And so it's intentionally, and again, it's something that you'll probably see more in person, but it's intentionally not perfect, right? The shapes are kind of skewed, they're different sizes, they kind of warp almost as a whole. And that all kind of relates to this idea that Bonnie had. She moved into a house in Seminole Heights, which is an older neighborhood here in her house had this octagon and dot tile pattern. And so how charming, of a characteristic that is for a house to have and to live with that and everything. And then as she kind of got more into the area, she was realizing, oh, this pattern is everywhere. I see this happening even in newer remodeling projects or in new home renovations, right? Like this charming characteristic that I thought was special and singular to my house and to the place that I live in, my domestic space, is actually kind of found everywhere. And I think we've all had those moments where we think we only have this one special thing, and then we start kind of noticing it everywhere we go. And we're like, okay, well, I guess that's how the world works, right? So it's that, and then it's also this construction material gives a feeling that it's not finished. Obviously, it's not finished, right? From a construction standpoint, this would not be a finished project. For her artwork, though, for her thesis project, it's kind of leaning into that. She grew up in a household that was constantly like remodeling and constantly doing home improvement projects, kind of preparing for the end of the world. So there's a lot of different connections that you can make with that. Cool. So then we're gonna turn around and look at the other wall. All right, cool. I hope I'm in focus. So this work behind me and this wall with two canvases behind me is by Chase Palmer. Chase was born in 1996 in Louisville, Kentucky. He's a Midwestern boy. And he received his BFA in 2018 from the Herron School of Art and Design in Indianapolis, Indiana. So these two massive canvas paintings. I mean, I'm for scale, right? Like this is a huge, huge painting. In Chase's practice, he uses figures and flesh and just this cacophony of color and consumption in his works. There's a lot going on here, which is the point, right? And his figures, again, they're all warped, but they're also painted with this kind of rich and unsettling detail. right? Like we know that this is skin, but it doesn't look like skin, but it is. And these different contortions and the different detail that he puts in to the feet and the roundness of the balls of the feet and the toes, and then the pizza. And so it's just, there's so much to look at here, and there's so much going on, that you could really spend a long time just being with this painting and being with his other painting as well. And that's all part of his practice, is commenting on this cacophony of consumption, right? Everybody is scrambling and folding in on themselves to get what they want. And so his figures are grotesque and kind of beautiful, depending on your interpretation of beautiful. So this is just one of his paintings. Then as we come around to another artist, we will go by his other canvas over here. And again, I think that's just kind of a big quality of artwork, is that it kind of needs your attention for it to work and for it to really unfold into your consciousness. So yeah, very cool. Again, a massive painting. Perfect. All right. Cool. So now here we have one of two sculptures that we have in the museum by Jonathan Talit. Jonathan was born in 1992 in Lakeland, Florida. He received his BFA in sculpture from Boston University in 2014. And the theme that kind of goes through his artwork and his sculptures, the other one is kind of by the front, so we'll glaze by that as we come out. He deals with skin, and he's really interested in skin as a membrane that can hold things in, and also as a surface that can leak and that can kind of ooze, right? So his sculptures deal with a lot of different textures. Again, we have this really delightful visual feast, right? There's a lot going on here. We have the base that has that velvet with the shiny balls. We also have the packing peanuts, and then these different valves, I guess you could call them, and these different kind of shapes that are reminiscent of human parts, right? Even if you kind of don't know what we're looking at here, you might think, oh, it kind of looks like a heart or something with the different valves going on. But he's really interested in this play, again, of skin and of human tissue and stuff, of having this capacity to withhold and to let go. And so stretching and different forms. And again, just a rich play of texture here. And yeah, I want to touch it, but I won't, because you can't do that. Cool. So we're going to move on to another artist here. This is a video work, a large video projection from Andres Ramirez. And Andres was born in 1991 in Anchorage, Alaska. He received his BFA from USF here in Tampa in 2017. And he is the child of Colombian and Salvadoran immigrants. And so his familial experience and his kind of intergenerational trauma of coming from immigrants and coming to a new land and everything really informs his artwork and really informs his kind of more meditative pieces. So he deals a lot with talking about his familial experiences and memory and just kind of honoring his roots and his heritage. And so again, this is a video piece that has usually audio to it. There's actually on the wall label here, which is going to be on the right side of the projection, there's a QR code so that you can actually scan it for the YouTube playlist of the music playing here. And I'll let you guys watch this for a little while longer. Cool. All right. So we're going to move on now. And this here, I don't know if we see it on camera, but this here is the other sculpture from Jonathan Talit, who was the sculpture that we talked about over in the corner. And Yeah, so here we come around to get a good view. Trying to find my mark. Okay, cool. So this is a work from Luke Myers. And Luke was born in 1987 in Somerville, Maine. He received his BA in 2018 from the University of Maine in Augusta. So he's from the very northeast. And so this work, there's a lot going on here, and it's really good stuff. So Luke has always had a kind of instinct for working in art through technology and nature, and kind of seeing where those things overlap and where they kind of fall apart, right? So he's aware, right? We all kind of have this fantasy of like living off the grid and living amongst nature and not worrying about technology or social media or everything tracking us all the time. She says, as she's doing a live Zoom presentation, you know exactly where I am right now. And so Luke, instead of kind of going more towards that divide of like technology versus nature, leans more into how they work together, right? Like we need technology to be with nature. We understand we understand what the weather forecast is going to be because of technology. Even maps, right? Even a paper map, you would have to find yourself and orient yourself into the surface of the map. But with GPS and everything these days, the map orients itself to you, right? Your phone or your GPS device is able to understand where your location is, and then the map changes in regards to that. So over time, our relationship with technology and how we move through the world, how we move through nature, how we understand nature, hurricanes, weather, etc., has continued to evolve. Technology is not slowing down, quite the opposite, of course. Everything is getting more and more technical. And so what Luke did for his thesis project, so he fed an AI generative program all these different kind of qualifications and all these different kind of constraints to work through, to produce something that was kind of abstracted from nature, but without those like exact keywords, right? And so a computer generated this shape from the different constraints that Luke gave it. And it's made of carbon fiber, right? And so that's the material made out of, that rocket ships are made out of, and that cars are being made out of. Carbon fiber is this really high-tech material. And so it's kind of that duality of, again, like we're using technology to recreate nature, and we're using nature to inspire technology and to direct technology. And so it's this really neat shape. You might think it looks like a bug, or it looks like sticks put together. And then as you can kind of see, there's a printer here, right? Like that's where this thing is in the middle. And there's this canvas print going around. And so what's on the canvas, and also in the background hanging up, I don't know if you can see that. These are trees from the local area. So this is technology inspired by nature, printing out and using technology to print out photographs of nature. So there's a lot going on here. It's kind of cerebral. It's really just cool to look at, and to walk around and everything. And again, we have these kind of printed loops hanging up behind us. So that's Luke Myers's project. And this is, we're kind of back at the beginning and at the opening of the actual museum space. So we're going to head outside, but this is all kind of right when you walk in and everything initially. So now we're gonna walk outside for our grand finale. Let me get the door here. This way. Okay. Okay. Yep. All right. Beautiful evening. Kind of humid, but that's Florida for you, right? It is April after all. Okay. Trying to find. Okay, here we go. Find my mark. So this is our grand finale artist. This is a sculpture installation creation from Maxwell Parker. Maxwell was born in 1993 in Albany, New York. He received his BFA in 2018 from the State University of New York in Plattsburgh. Max's artwork is kind of like what kids would like, the ideas that you had as a kid of building all these different things, what that would look like as an adult with power tools, right? So this is a truck, technically, with a platform and everything, and there's stairs, you can't go into it. I did ask, nobody's climbing on it. And there's so much going on here. It's really great. Max just kind of throws in all these different construction materials and different things that have different purposes. So if you get up close and look at the details and everything, like on the back, there's the hatch of a minivan and the windshield wiper is going back and forth. Just delightful stuff. There are various wires and cords and zip ties hanging off of it. And again, as you get here in person, and of course you can look at this at any time because it is out in the open, it is out on this kind of patio area of the museum, in front of the museum. There's cords wrapped around the wiring of this above us here. And so it's again, kind of this kinetic energy, right? Like this actually does move and everything. Not right now, obviously, because that would be bad for safety things. But it does move. And so his practice has that kind of theme of working with kinetic energy, and you have to kind of have some childlike glee and wonder to kind of make it work. And so again, there's just lots of different materials that it's like what a kid would build, but also kind of more sophisticated than what a kid would build if they were building a Tonka truck or like a giant truck. And it's really great too that Max booted his creation, as sometimes happens here on the USF grounds. And yeah, there's so much rich detail. You have to come and check it out in person for sure. And so that's our final artist. So now we're going to make our way back inside. And if you have any questions, I will hopefully try to be able to answer them. And it'll be great.
Well,
Right.
thank you so much, SK. That was an excellent tour. It went really, really well.
Okay. Thank you.
So we can sort of vamp for a second here and see. We don't have any questions as of yet, but maybe a couple will come in. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about, so you wrote for the catalog that was produced for this exhibition. Can you talk about your strategy for approaching such a diverse group of artists and how you might write for that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Mark. So this year's catalog was written differently from how previous years' catalogs would work. Usually what happens is that we will have a graduate art historian be paired with a graduate MFA student. And it's this really great academic exercise of writing about a living person who not only will read your work, but will be able to have input and an opinion of what you've written about their work. So it's this really great academic exercise in giving the opportunity of working on that, right? Usually as an art history person, you're writing about history, you're writing about things that have already happened, so you don't usually have that kind of connection. This year, because of the pandemic, obviously, that didn't really have a chance to happen. And so this group of MFA students reached out to me. I was the editor for the catalog last year, so I kind of had some experience with working on this project. And they reached out to me, and it was definitely kind of a fun brainstorming exercise of, okay, we can't work with that usual model of the catalog. What can we do instead? And so we came up with 4 different kind of themes that the artists put themselves into for the sake of organizing the catalog. And so I was able to, with working in those kind of themes, give each theme an explanation and connect it to each of the artists that felt that they best resonated with that theme. So yeah, so it was a fun project, kind of working through and going through every single artist's practice and reading their thesis papers. And again, I just want to give my gratitude to the artists for trusting me with such a project. Right, the catalog is a real tangible thing that will be held and read and on random bookshelves all around the country in people's homes. And so that's a really big honor to have. But it was a really fun project, and I'm really happy with how it came out. We have catalogs available here in the museum. So another reason to come through and see stuff in person.
Great, thank you. We do have a question here, and I'm not sure how much you know about this process itself, but it's can you talk a little bit about the installation process for this year's exhibition? How were the artists able to access the space and install the works?
Yeah, that is a great question. So I wasn't part of that process, but I do know that everybody had their own appointment time and their own kind of scheduled time to come into the museum. And of course, too, there's a lot of planning and preparation that goes into making the show come together even before actual installation, right? There's various meetings of the artists figuring out what space they're going to have, how much actual like square footage space they're going to have available to them. And then it's kind of working through the logistics of how do we get these things put together? There's a wonderful staff here at the museum to, again, help make all of that happen. Hang things, get the lighting right, put everything together so that it's a magical show. That's kind of all that I have to say about that. I know that it was done safely and people were wearing masks. I am not right now, for the sake of everybody being able to see what my mouth is saying. And I have been vaccinated and I'm safely distanced from Leo and everything. But yeah, I'm sure it's been very different from how previous years were installed.
Great. Well, we don't have any more questions, and I think it's been a great experience here. So I'm going to invite Noelle to come back, and maybe we'll all just kind of say goodbye and thank everyone for joining us tonight.
Well, that's about right. Well, thank you, SK. That was a thoroughly charming and informative tour. I really did enjoy it. And Leo, thank you. That was excellent camera work. And Mark as well. So you guys did a nice job with kind of an experimental form, and I think it worked out really well. So thank you so much. And again, thank you to all the students. I have a new appreciation of all of your work and look forward to going back into the museum next week to look at it again. And I want to remind everyone that April 22nd at 6 p.m. Is the panel with all the artists moderated by Amanda Paz. So I hope you tune into that. So thanks again, everybody. It was a really fun evening and hope to see you soon. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.